Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller. As chair of the board, I welcome you to this January 18th, 2022 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our communications manager, Emily Kaiser, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the packet, and how people can participate remotely. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. So there are multiple ways to make public comment during today's meeting, whether you are joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet over here. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to virtually raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually, the chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you're experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment in the chat and I will help you troubleshoot. If you're a staff member experiencing issues, please contact the IT help desk for assistance. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table here, and it is also posted to wcroads.org. There's also a link available in the chat if you're joining us from a computer or smartphone. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. I now call this meeting to order and ask if Aaron would please call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green has an excused absence. Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas has an excused absence. Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Present.
Managing Director Cheryl Siddle.
Present.
Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Matt McDonald.
Present.
Director of Operations Jim Harmon has an excused absence. And Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Here.
Thank you, Aaron. At this time, please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please? So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion, any additions, deletions, changes at all? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Present.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. We have an agenda. It was unanimously adopted. We have 2 sets of minutes to consider today. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of January 4th, 2022 as presented, appearing on pages 3 through 9 of the board packet.
Madam Chair, I motion that we accept the board meeting minutes of January 4th, 2022 from pages 3 through 9.
Support.
Thank you. Any changes, any corrections? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The minutes are unanimously adopted for January 4th, 2022. Next, may I have a motion to accept the closed session minutes of January 4th, 2022. Those were distributed separately to the members of the board. May I have a motion?
Circulate.
Support. Moved and seconded. Are there any corrections, deletions? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Aye.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Aye. The closed session minutes of January 4th, 2022 are unanimously accepted. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This is a time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Emily will now explain how people may be recognized to offer comments to the board.
Thanks, Commissioner. So since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click join audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the participants or reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the raise hand button. If you dial into the meeting from a touch tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9.
Thank you. And
Wait, I'm sorry, I have more.
you have
I just had to turn the page.
Please continue.
I will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we will start with those who have signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it's your turn. So at this time, we do have a virtual hand raised. We don't have anybody in person that has signed up. So we've got 2 actually. So we'll start with, I believe this is Brenda Stumbo from Ypsilanti Township. Brenda, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Madam Supervisor, good afternoon.
Greetings. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I have another meeting at 1:30, but I love attending your meetings. I'm calling in today to make public comments in regards to what can we do as a road commission to get prepared for all of the federal funding that's supposed to be coming down the pipe, you know, with pre-engineered projects, shovel ready, whatever terminology we're supposed to use. And then secondly, I was at a neighborhood watch meeting on Monday, and several people continue to raise concerns with US 12 and crossing over to get onto E-course instead of, you know, taking the proper lane up to the light and turn right. So it was said that an actual bus, instead of using the proper Michigan U, went through to E-course Road to get on E-course Road. And like, I'm very concerned about the safety of that area and this incident. So if we could put something up temporarily, how can I help? It is an MDOT project. However, it was engineered and the grant was administered through the road commission. And we just want to address this concern. It was suggested that we get police officers to help enforcing it, but really we need to put a barrier up. And our residents raised this concern last time, and they continue to raise it from different residents throughout the township. So I just want to see what we can do to help get something up there temporarily so that we can stop the crossing over of that traffic. It's very dangerous. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Emily?
Okay. So we have another raised hand from Heather. Heather, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Heather, is this Madam Clerk?
Yes, thank you all for being there today. And again, along with Brenda, sorry that we weren't able to make it in person today, but just appreciate being able to speak to your board. I just wanted to echo those concerns about the US 12 and the crossing over. I know that that project's not fully punched off yet and completed, but if you ever go out to visit it, you can visibly see the tracks where cars continue to drive through there. And so just a really big safety concern. A lot of our residents and a lot of commuters that come into and out of our community use that roadway, and we just don't want to see anyone get harmed. And that also reminded me to bring up another comment that I heard from a couple residents about the bioswale that's over there. And currently it's frozen, which is great, but a few residents were really concerned about if the water is going to continue to remain standing, the, potential harm for someone to get in, drowned or fall into it and get, down in the muck and stuff. And so just wanting to raise safety concerns around that and just making sure that it works properly before we, are all signed off on the project. So I know that the County Road Commission will take those safety concerns seriously. So we just wanted to share those with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Emily?
Okay. That is all the raised hands at this time.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda are written communications. They appear on pages 10 through 13. Commissioners, anything you want to draw our attention to or comment on? Commissioner McCollum,
Yes, I would like to thank Managing Director Cheryl.
speak up, please.
I would like to thank Managing Director Cheryl Siddle for the letter response to Supervisor Stumble about the drainage. And I would like to thank the letter that David Kubik sent about the crossroads of the night road. I thought that was a really good letter. It had some humor in it. It's pretty good. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. There are no other comments regarding those written communications. We will move on to hear Commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. Commissioner McCollum.
Yes, I'd like to thank Supervisor Brenda Stumble for bringing concerns of the West Willow residents concerning the US 12 crossing over to East Forest Road. And I would like to thank Clerk Rowe about bringing concerns about the US 12 crossing over and the bioswale that the West Willow residents are concerned about. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Commissioner Doug Fuller, any comments?
No.
No. Managing Director, not at this time. All right. Let's move on then to new business. And I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 3, pages 14 through 16.
You may.
Support. Thank you. With respect to discussion, I just want to point out that we're adopting a retirement resolution, which is on page 16 of our packet, for Paul Robinson, who has served this organization for over 33 years as both a heavy truck driver and as a heavy equipment operator. On behalf of the board, I extend my appreciation to Paul, wish him well, and note that his dedicated service, knowledge, and experience will be missed.
Thank you for the comment.
Anything else? Hearing none. Erin, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The consent agenda is adopted unanimously. Next on our agenda is County Commissioner Liaison reports. I'm looking, do we have any of our county commissioners?
I don't believe so.
I don't see them, okay. We do not have any county commissioners present today at this meeting. Let's move on to road commissioner reports. Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Nothing to report.
No report. Commissioner McCollum.
Yes, I submitted my report and it's kind of lengthy, so I'm just going to submit my report.
It will be entered in the minutes as submitted.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. I'll provide my report. On January 6th of this year, I attended virtually the CAPDART meeting. CAPDART stands for the Chelsea Area Planning Team and the Dexter Area Regional Team. They convened virtually and featured Washtenaw County Commissioner Jason Machieski. He remarked that the Board of Commissioners has eliminated their working sessions. The BOC will now meet in person on the first and third Wednesdays, beginning at 5:30 p.m. for their working or study session, followed at 7 p.m. by their regular meeting. Public comments for the Board of Commissioners can be given virtually via a new comment portal. The comments are then forwarded to the Board of Commissioners, all of them, and internet connectivity will impact access to this option, but it is one of the easier ways for people to offer public comment if they cannot be there in person. They also passed a resolution to exempt their committees, task forces, and commissions from the in-person meeting requirement. This is undergoing review by County Corporate Counsel and will be implemented as Council deems it appropriate and legal. Next, we would have managing director and staff reports. Those start on page 17 and run through page 38. We'll hear from our managing director, Cheryl Siddle.
Thank you. My report is actually pretty brief today. As usual, it seems like it was 2 weeks full of COVID-related matters. We started with attempting to be in compliance and prepared to enforce the federal vaccine mandate and testing requirements, which sort of took effect on January 10th, but not completely. So we started initially by requesting vaccination status from our staff. And then at the end of last week, we've found that the United States Supreme Court decided that that rule was unenforceable. So we are no longer doing that with respect to requesting vaccination status, and we will not no longer be required to have a policy in place with respect to the vaccine mandate and or a testing requirement. So we continue obviously to have safety protocols such as things like the masking when you're indoors, the social distancing, no riding together in vehicles, all of those type of enhanced safety protocols will be in place. But the vaccine will not be mandated by this organization at this time, anyways, as it currently stands, unless
Normal testing.
Pardon?
Normal testing.
Or normal testing, exactly, at this point in time. We will clearly continue to follow any MIOSHA or further guidance that we receive from ACRISIP, who continues to be a valuable resource to this organization on navigating these ever-changing COVID waters. But that is the current status, and that just came about right at the end of last week. So that sort of occupied quite a bit of time for myself and certainly for Nicole Peterson, who continues to be our main point of contact for all things COVID related. Any questions for me on any of that before I hand it over to the directors?
I just want to thank you, Cheryl, for keeping up. Seems like it can change from morning to afternoon.
Oh, there's times that, yes, and change back again before the day is over. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I just continue to say special thanks to Nicole Peterson. She navigates these waters. She doesn't seem to be phased. The changes, they keep coming, and she just says, let me reach out, she's constantly watching the county website, which is a very valuable resource for us, the CDC, but she is on top of it. She is the main point of contact, whether it's our staff, our supervisors, myself, commissioners, so she has certainly been a godsend throughout this entire pandemic. All right, so I would be happy at this point in time to hand it over to Matt Washtenaw. He can certainly bring us up to speed on what's been going on in the engineering department.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'll keep it brief. Staff continues to close out projects from last year and permits as well, and look forward to preparing for next season's work in addition to that. Also in your board packet, we have several reports on our maintenance activities as it relates to our sign and signal crews, and also a permits quarterly report. Be happy to take any questions on any of that. Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Jim could not be with us this afternoon. Obviously, we've actually had a slight break in the weather with respect to at least winter maintenance responsibilities. I am very grateful that that storm somehow just managed to miss the state of Michigan. I'm not sure how we got so lucky on that one, and I will quickly knock on wood because I'm sure we won't be so fortunate on the next storm, but it was nice to have been missed by that one. Next up is Dan Ackerman. I know they have been quite busy in finance, getting ready for the audit, which will start here shortly. And then certainly he can also share with the IT side of things.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I'll start by saying my apologies for missing the working session this morning. I did make sure that it was okay with Cheryl, but as much as we appreciated the day off yesterday, it put us a little behind as far as meeting our deadlines. And so we wanted to make sure that we had processed everything in a timely manner and had everything ready to go. And we were successful with that. So that's good. Believe it or not, our audit will start in a couple of weeks, which it seems early, but it probably always seems that way at this time of the year to me. So we're trying to finalize everything that we can for year end 2021, and certainly we will be ready. But right now there's just kind of a lot going on. We've printed all the 2021 W-2s, and we're hoping to mail those to our organization sometime this week. So usually around the first day back, so this year, January 3rd, usually we get questions asking, where's our W-2? And so obviously we have until the end of the month to get it to employees, but we try to make an effort to get it to them a little bit earlier because some people are ready to go as far as their taxes. So, like I said, we'll be mailing those out this week. We're also working on some other tax forms, 1099s and 1095, which is related to the Affordable Care Act. That's something that we need to provide to our employees and our early retirees. So we'll make sure we get all those going and get our auditors ready to go and get through all this, and then we can move on into 2022. And then as far as IT, we are in phase 1, or actually we finished phase 1 of our Microsoft Teams phone conversion. So far, so good. I'm part of that testing group, and just want to compliment both Chris and Josh. The transition was very smooth for myself, and they provide some really good training and some documents to follow. I had a couple of issues, but that was, I think, user error or just not my understanding of things. And they were very prompt and patient with me, so appreciate that. And we're looking forward to that full transition later this year. And I know phase 2 is starting tomorrow. So that's a great project that we have going. And like I said, we're looking forward to completing that in the near future. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Well, that's it from the staff side of things, unless you have any further questions for myself.
If I may backtrack to the traffic and safety report, we had a table that indicated how many and what kind of inquiries and calls that were required. And I'm just curious, what are the trouble calls? I mean, is that when the signal goes out, or is it working properly?
As far as the traffic signal, I will speak briefly, and if I'm speaking incorrectly, I will let Matt or Brent jump in, certainly. Okay. A lot of times they have to diagnose what is going on. Earlier during the working session, he referenced that malfunctioning. Well, that can mean all kinds of things. Sometimes that simply means there's no power to it, which of course it doesn't function if there's power. If there's no power to the signal, sometimes it may be that there's a detector that's broken or something isn't going right, so they have to go in, whether it's they do it remotely or they go out into the field. They have to diagnose what is actually wrong with that traffic signal, and then if they can, they repair it at that time, or if they have to order equipment, they basically get it up and running, or as best as they can, and then order whatever parts are necessary from there. Did I do okay, Matt, Brent?
Yes, I would just add that as Brent described this morning, a lot of our traffic signal network relies on communication. So a lot of trouble calls can be just that. I think one question this morning was, why are the cameras indicated in red? Well, that camera may be down due to a communication issue. So a lot of times we're making sure the switches are working, making sure all the communication that's involved in the traffic signal network is up and running. And that will be even more so the case when we have external users relying on our system, such as the sheriff's office. So it's a very important thing to keep on top of, the diagnostic and troubleshooning. Brent, go if we continue, if we missed anything.
If we've insulted you at this point, Brent.
No, that was all good. I appreciate it.
And then we had over 2,000 signs replaced. Are people running over our signs, or is this the usual swapping out because the reflectivity has degraded?
All of the above.
Okay.
I would just keep in mind we have over 30,000 signs in our inventory, And ideally, we'd love to replace them every 7 years. So if you kind of do the math, we're even behind schedule.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
I do.
Commissioner Fuller.
Thank you. I continue to be concerned with the comments from the administration of Ypsilanti Township concerning the US 12 project, reporting to us that there's a problem. That's fine. I certainly have no problem listening to the comment. That project is not ours. It has never been ours. We are not in the chain of command on that project. So we need to make it clear to the supervisor, in this particular case, the clerk, we're grateful for the information, but we don't have a way to act upon the information. So what I'm hearing sitting here is, okay, I'm reporting to you a problem. Would you please handle it? And this board, this organization has no way to handle it. We're not in that chain of command. So we need to, in writing, I personally think, and I suggest to the chair, that we report back to the township. Yes, we received the comments, but we have no mechanism available to us to do anything, but we can copy somebody, any number of people that we got a comment, but we have no ability to respond to the concern. That, in my limited understanding of that project, that is a relationship between the township and the state. And there's an engineering firm that was inserted by the state into that conversation. And I honestly don't know where the supervisor and the clerk's complaints or observations, I should say complaints, concerns should go, but it isn't to us, since we don't have a mechanism. We're not administering that project. So I think we need to make sure that everybody understands that in writing. That if, it's perceived by, whether it's the neighborhood association, whether it's the township supervisor, whether it's whomsoever, needs to go to the, I believe, the state engineer in charge of that project. Would seem to me to be the logical place, but I don't know that. So I, while Matt's here, Matt may well have some insight to that answer to that question, because I don't know, but I do know, or at least I believe, that the correct organization is not us.
Managing Director.
I'll start, and again, as usual, I'll be happy to hand off to staff. They deal with this on a daily basis. You are correct, Commissioner Fuller, from the standpoint that this is extremely complicated and it is unique. We have never been involved in a project like this. This is not a typical state trunk line project where they handle it all themselves and we're out of it, regardless of who they're dealing with, whether it be the local municipality or whomever.
Right.
We are sort of involved from the standpoint that the money is passing through our organization. So we do have a role in this.
We do.
We obviously work very closely with Ypsilanti Township as well as OHM, who is the engineer who has been retained for this project. So
not by us, however.
Well, but again, that's where contractually we're sort of in, we're sort of out. I mean, again, it's complicated in large part because of the money. And it's difficult, if not impossible, for the state to directly give that money to the township. So has been our role in the project, for the most part, has been facilitating those types of things. At the end of the day, you are correct. We've been relying very heavily on OHM to manage the project. I know some of these concerns had come up just immediately prior to the previous board meeting. So Mark Locke, as a representative of OHM, had provided a response on many of these same items that were raised today. So we can certainly follow up with Mark to make sure that, again, pretty much everybody and their brother is being sent this information. It is the township. We do have staff that have been, again, attempting to facilitate the relationships, even though the road is definitely not ours and it would not be a road commission sanctioned project per se. Matt, is there anything else that I should be, or we should be adding at this point to that?
I would just say that certainly we're working with OHM and the township to address concerns. But ultimately, any changes to what's out there needs to be approved by MDOT. So any of the things that we do to address potential safety issues or concerns from residents and the township, we need to get approved by MDOT. We are administering the contract and OHM is the person that's essentially doing that on our behalf, all of our behalf. And it is a very complicated relationship where we have contractual agreements between the state and the township and the road commission. So we are involved at some level, but ultimately the authority of what goes on US 12 is MDOT's, and they need to approve any changes or any of the things that we've done thus far have been done under permit and approved by MDOT.
I would echo Commissioner Doug Fuller's request that a response go in writing on the record with respect to who Supervisor Stumbo, Clerk Rowe, or others should direct their concerns and comments to, and clarifying the limits of our organization with respect to this project. So when there's discussion about barriers being put up or other mitigating instruments, we can't do that. And it would be helpful if they knew specifically who to call and how to get in touch with them, and that we put that in writing so everybody's seeing the same names and the same phone numbers and the dates and who it came from and who it went to.
Yep, we can do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree. I think that would be helpful to know.
Speak up, please.
I agree. I think that would be helpful to know who, who's on first or whatever they say, who's in the position to do things, so.
Now, at the same time, to Cheryl's comment, and it's certainly true, we have maintained all of my life, literally, a warm, constructive relationship with Ypsilanti Township. And I expect that we will as far out into the future as I can see. What I'm trying to do is make sure that when Ypsilanti Township, I started to say Whitetown, when Ypsilanti Township expresses a concern to ourselves, that's fine. And if we're, and I'm very sure that comment or series of comments will be passed on by this organization to OHM and to the state. And I'm quite sure that happens, okay? And I would expect it to, but I would like it to be clear that we don't have the responsibility in this particular case.
Or the authority.
Thank you. The fact that the money goes through our books does not give us prerogatives having to do with, oh, by the way, I don't like the color of grass you're installing.
I think we understand that we don't have the responsibility or the authority
Right.
to
So
address these concerns.
I just, but I don't want anybody, whether it's residents of the immediate area, nor the township, nor anyone else, to get the idea that we have authority on that project. Nobody has granted us any authority whatsoever, other than you seem to be there, so we'll shuffle the money to you, and you shuffle the money off. Fine and dandy, we can do that.
Yes.
But because it's MDOT's project, it's MDOT's roads, it's MDOT's money. They hired the engineer. They hired the contractor. So there's not any place there where we, to Bart's point, do we have the responsibility. Consequently, I get nervous when somebody calls us up in a public meeting and says, geez, I'm reporting this to you, would you please handle it? I don't have the tools at hand to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anything further, Cheryl?
No,
Okay, or any of your people, your staff?
my people.
I'm looking at my screen here, and I don't see anybody waving. Okay. Is that everybody in your?
Yep, and I think we covered everybody on staff, and I believe that closed session is up next.
Up next, yeah. All right, so at this point, we're going to enter a closed session. Emily will first describe how this works, and then I will entertain a motion, which I can read, and if someone would then move it, second it, we can proceed.
Thank you. Okay, so Cheryl's gonna do our sign. Thank you. So for virtual participants, if you're not a road commissioner or a designated staff member, we'll now move you to the virtual waiting room. If you'd like to be returned to the open session of the meeting once we've completed the closed session, please remain in the virtual waiting room. I will readmit you once the closed session has been completed. If you are attending in person, please exit the boardroom unless you're a designated staff member or commissioner. You're welcome to wait in the lobby until the closed session has been completed and we will reopen the doors. All right, so go ahead, Commissioner.
You all set, Emily?
Well, I want to record the motion and then I will stop the recording once you made your motion.
All right. At this time, I move to enter into a closed session under Section 8D of the Open Meetings Act to consider the acquisition of right-of-way for parcels 7, 10, 11, and 12 of the Pontiac Trail at North Territorial Road project in Salem Township, and also to receive an update on the TPOAM contract negotiations. May I have a second?
Support.
Thank you. We'll need a roll call vote. Aaron?
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. We have unanimously agreed to enter a closed session.
Okay.
Commissioner Doug Fuller, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, proposed motion that upon the recommendation of the county's highway engineer, director of engineering, and concurrence of the managing director, and upon the recommendation of council, the board hereby approves the settlement of the lawsuit Board of Road Commissioners for Washtenaw County versus Allenwood Group LLC et al. Case number 21-1287-CC for a total payment of $30,000 from the road commission.
Support. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Aaron, please.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum, and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. If there is no further business to come before this board, I would note that our next meeting is on February 1st at 1 p.m. Again, we're an in-person meeting these days. No working session on February 1st. The chat sessions tomorrow, January 19th, with Commissioner Roderick Green, and on January 26th with Commissioner Gloria Yamas from noon to 1 p.m. And those are virtual chat sessions.
Okay.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
Oh,
Wait. So
no, I was acting. How about you make the motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I will support.
Thank you. Yeah. Aaron, are you there?
Yes, I am. Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.